Okay. This is a packed off, guys. A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. Sukkah Yeshana. If you have an old sukkah, Beis Shammai Poislin, Beis Shammai says it's puzzle. An old sukkah is puzzle. We'll see what that means in a second. Beis Hillel Machshirin, Beis Hillel says it's kasha. The Ezehi Sukkah Yeshana, Kol Shasa Koidim L'Chag Shleishim Yom. Anything that you made 30 days before the Chag. Avalam Asal L'Shem Chag, Afilu Mitchilas Hashana K'Sheira. If you made it L'Shem Chag, I feel at the beginning of the Chag it would be kasha. Let's see Rashi. Sukkah Yeshana, Kidim Farish. What does it mean old? She'asa koidim l'chag shleishim yom. Anything that's made before the Chag 30 days is considered a Sukkah Yeshana. V'lei pirish shehi l'shem Chag. And you did not go ahead and say it should be l'shem Chag. So in other words, as it says in the Mishnah, if you make a Sukkah in March and you say, I'm putting this up l'shem Sukkah, it comes September or October when Sukkot, it's a kosher Sukkah according to everybody. That's not a Sukkah Yeshana. Age does not mean it's Yeshana. What it means is it's not designated as a Sukkah. So says Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai, you need designation as a Sukkah. Beis Shammai Poiston says Rashi, the boy is Sukkah Lishma. You need Sukkah Lishma. We know there's certain mitzvahs you need Lishma. The most famous is of course Get, V'chasav La Sefer Krisis, La Lishma. We know tzitzis have to be made Lishma. We know that the dinim of Lishma. However, over here, by Sukkah, says by Shammai, there's a din Lishma. Vizu stam nasis. If it's 30 days before the Chag, you made it stam. You didn't make it l'shem Chag. However, v'ilu toich shloishim l'Chag, have kivim the shoylim behilchas achag koidim l'Chag shloishim yom. Since there's a halacha of asking 30 days before Tesvav Tishrei, there's a halacha of asking. Stam ois l'shem chagu. If you make it in that time span, it's stam you make it l'shem chag, and therefore, even if you don't have in mind l'shem chag, it's kasha. Aval koidim shleishim stama lav chag. Ubesil machshirin the loy bin in sukkah l'shem chag. You don't need l'shem chag. Okay, so let's go over outside. I make a sukkah in March. I don't have in mind l'shem sukkah. Says Beis Shammai it's puzzle. Says Beis Hillel it's kasha. If I make it l'shem sukkah, everyone holds it kasha. Where is Beis Shammai at Beis Shammai? That's the machlokes in Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. If it's made stam 30 days before, 30 days before, everyone's in agreement that what? Even if you don't have him on l'shem chag, it's l'shem chag. Because of this halacha of shloshim yom koydem chag. So it's mashma from here, a very interesting halacha. We learned the halacha of shloshim yom koydem chag, shoylem hilchos pesach. We learned it in Daf Vav in hilchos pesach, right? So the question is over here, is Rashi telling us that this din applies not only to what? To Pesach, but to Sukkot as well? It says, Rashi says, guys, Kivin the shoylem hilchas achag koydem lechag. Chag means sukkos. Shloishim yoyim stama oishel l'shem chaghu. So here's the lashon of the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, shoylem hilchas haPesach shari Moshe oimei bePesach rishain umashirin al kol hilchas Pesach sheni. So 30 days before Pesach sheni, Moshe was warning them about Pesach sheni. V'hu adin b'shayam toivim. Who adin not only what Pesach. Mash Mashayim Taivim, Nami Darshim Koidim Lachain Shleishim Yom Bilchaseyen. So it's Mash from the Mishnah Berurah that he's in agreement. Vayim Bergra, Divat Seres Sagi B'Yom Echad B'Sivin. At Seres, which doesn't have any halachas, is only 1 day. You don't have to go 30 days before. 1 day before enough. V'Yeshayimim Da'Chiyav Shleishim Yom Hu Rak BePesach, only BePesach. B'Shem the Yeshbim Halachas Rabbis. Going tchinas chitim, grinding the wheat for the matzah, ba'afias hamatzos, v'hagolas kelim, kashrin your kelim from chametz, ubir chametz. She'elu einoisim oisam kilchoseyem, koydem Pesach, less lu takana Pesach. You can't go ahead and be metakan on Pesach. Mashenkim b'shayim toivim da be'ezi yom koydem a few days before. So it's very fascinating that it seems that this had to learn pshat in this Rashi. It seems to be based upon the Mishnah Berurah. Now, the Mishnah Berurah, guys, is really bringing in other shitas. He's bringing the shita of the Marsha versus the Beis Yosef. The Marsha, he says that you see from here, from this Rashi, like the first lashon of the Mishnah Berurah, that the halachas the shleishim yom kaidim chag would be noig also not only by Pesach but by Sukkot as well. Says the Beis Yosef, it doesn't make sense. Says the Beis Yosef in the same siman, first siman in Hilchos Pesach. He says, like Shavuos, you don't have to dash in 30 days with Shavuos. There's no lack of Shavuos. You go ahead, you call Michael Mesta, I have Ari call Michael Mesta, and you're good, right? You're all set. You have your balances. What's Allah? You eat some milchik, what is it? Sukkot, he says, fascinating, guys. Although we got a whole masechta on it, by and large, most sukkahs are kosher. By and large, you think about it. A sukkah over 10 tefachim, you have more sun than shade. The wall can be made out of anything. You're good. You're good. So there's not so many halachas that you need 30 days before. So this Rashi, guys, l'chayre vensich on how the Beis Yosef learns Pshat and Rashi. Whether, I don't know, Marsha says that l'chayre this Rashi is a raya brewer to what that the halacha of Shleishim Yom applies for. And Ad Kadei Kach, that Shleishim Yom is saying that if you go ahead and build a sukkah like Beis Shammai, it's going to be considered a kosher sukkah. Says the Gemara, my time is Shammai.
How do you build a sukkah stam?
You put up a sukkah. Oh, stam, you don't have the shem chag.
What am I putting it up for? I don't know what I'm doing.
Again, you're putting it up. You don't have in mind that it's for the purpose of a sukkah. It's for shade.
What are you putting it up for?
What?
You're putting it up in mind for something else. So how could it be a sukkah?
Let's say whatever I'm putting. Oh, sukkah stam could be. I didn't have this is the shem. It's for sukkah. I'm making a hut. I don't have a shem sukkah.
What am I making for?
Listen, light based Hillel. If I have in mind, I don't have to have in mind the hut. I just have to have in mind that it's lit sail. We said yesterday in yesterday's share. Light based Hillel, even though he doesn't need lishma, he needs it that it should be minka, that he's there for a sukkah, not for any other reason.
Then it's lishma.
No, there's there's different madregas. There's shaloi lishma, there's stam, and there's lishma. You bake matzahs, stam means I don't have in mind lishma. Why do you say when you bake matzahs? L'shei matzahs mitzvah. What happens if you had no kavana? I'm making matzahs, but I have no kavana. You don't say automatically what? It's l'shei matzahs mitzvah. Aryeh, I'm making matzah.
What are you making it for? You're making it for Pesach.
Again, that's stam. You need fleishiks, not parav. You're saying it's enough parav, right? You need one more step. You need fleishiks.
I'm saying the parav is fleishiks because that's why you're making it. The mice that you're doing it is.
That's not correct. That's not correct. A guy's writing a get for his wife. Why is he writing a get for his wife?
That's because there's a mice. You have to give it.
A guy is writing. I don't understand. Guy's writing a get for his wife. Isn't his mice writing a get? He must be writing for the shema.
Oh, he's mixing the flour and water. Doesn't help you.
Again, I don't understand. Again, you need a positive kavana. You need the next step. It's not enough to say just because I'm doing it. It's for that reason. You need to have in mind it's for that reason.
So the case yesterday with the guy with the pottery. One room was his house, so to speak, and the other one was his business. If he moves around the schach, that would be for before 30 days before.
Anytime you move around the schach is good because that you're doing
right.
the ma'aser mitzvah, right?
So that would make his house to a sukkah and the business.
We're speaking where you don't move around the schach. Moving around the schach, everyone is moided with making the mitzvah. The question is, you have to take it down and put it up. We're going to see a machlokes later on. Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, you have to take it down, put it up, or it's enough to be menaneya to go ahead and do that. But yesterday we said a raya, like Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel didn't argue. He said if you're living in the inner house, it's puzzle. Why is it puzzle? Because you living there since you lived there the whole year. So Aryeh, you put up a sukkah in March. You sit in the sukkah. You're sitting in the sukkah, right? You didn't put it up l'shem sukkah. You put it up for whatever reason. Now says the Gemara. My time in the Beis Shammai. Omakra, the pasuk says Chag HaSukkah shivas yomim laHashem. 7 days. Chag HaSukkah for 7 days should be laHashem. Sukkah hasuya l'shem chag. You need a sukkah made l'shem chag. Beinin. Ubeis Hillel. Ahumi boyle l'chrav sheishes. You need for Rav Sheishes. The Rav Sheishes mishum Rabbi Akiva minayin la'atzei sukkah sha'oisim kol shiva. How do you know atzei sukkah that the asa for all 7 days, guys? How do you know the eitzim of the sukkah is asa b'hana? How do you know the eitzim of the sukkah is asa b'hana? Tamid loymar chag hasukkos shivas yomim la'Hashem. V'tanya Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira oimer, and the word chag, guys, kishem shechal shem shemayim ala chagiga, just like the shem shemayim is chal on the korban chagiga. Kachal shem shemayim ala sukkah. So too is chal shem shemayim ala sukkah. So it's a says Beis Hillel, I needed chag LaHashem to make this sushtel, this comparison between a sukkah and a korban. Just like a korban is LaHashem, it's asa b'hana. So too a sukkah, the korban atzei sukkah is asa b'hana. Machlokes rishonim, is it going on the funnest of the sukkah or just the schach? Shenemar chag sukkah shivas yom LaHashem. Ma chag LaHashem af sukkah LaHashem. Ubeis Shammai nami miboilei lahachi. Beis Shammai needs it to teach me that the atzei sukkah or asa b'hana question. So therefore, how could he use it to teach me the din of the Shema? Again, if I needed to teach me the din of asa b'hana, that the sukkah is asa, how can it be then to teach me you need a lishma? After the Gemara, enachinami. Enachinami, Beis Shammai says that's not the pasuk. That pasuk is to teach me the din of asa b'hana. Elamai time with the Beis Shammai that you need lishma. Ksiv krachrina, another pasuk. Chag hasukkos tasel lecha shivas yomim. It says tasel lecha. What does this cha mean? Sukkah hasuya l'shem chag be'inin. You need a sukkah that's made l'shem chag. You need a sukkah that's made l'shem chag, and the lecha. Now, what does Beis Hillel do with the pasuk of Beis Shammai? Beis Hillel mi boile la'oisa sukkah b'chol shel moed. That if you didn't build a sukkah erev yantif, you can build in chol shel moed. Beis Shammai savrei lahu Rabbi Eliezer. Beis Shammai holds like Rabbi Eliezer, but Amar ein oisa sukkah b'chol shel moed. You don't make a sukkah on chol shel moed, so therefore he doesn't need a pasuk lecha to teach me that. So he uses it to teach me lishma. Okay, so right now chag hasukkos tiyasa lecha. Says Beis Hillel, the lecha is teach me you can make a sukkah chol shel moed. Says Beis Shammai, it's to teach me lishma. Fred Gemara, uBeis Hillel less lahu the Rabbi Yehuda Marav. Does Beis Hillel not hold of Yehuda Marav? Now we're going to bring in tzitzis, guys. Tzitzis. The Amar of Yehuda Marav, asa, if you make it tzitzis, min hakoitzin, umin hanimin, umin hagarden. These are all threads that are on the beged. They're on the beged, and now you twist them into tzitzis. So since you did not put them on the beged for the purpose of what? Of tzitzis, it's ta'asev lo min ha'asa. You have to make the tzitzis, and this would be what? A problem of tzitzis being made. However, min hasisin, which is a ball of wool, and you went ahead and you hung them on the beged, ksheira, that would be kasha. Now, what's the kasha? Kemisa kamei Shmuel amali af min hasisin nami psula. Even the season's psula. Why? To be in teviyah lishma. The reason why that we puzzle is because since it's a ball of wool, stam, and the twisting of the wool was not made l'shem tzitzis. Again, we passing after tefillah has to be l'shma. So therefore, it's by tzitzis, even that won't be good. Bottom line is, what do you see from tzitzis? You need a din on l'shma. Now notice, fellas, they didn't bring a pasuk. Notice, they didn't bring any pasuk whatsoever. The assumption being that stam, this would be very close to what Ari is saying, stam, when you do something, it's l'shma, meaning you need l'shma. So hachanamini boys sukkah suy lishma. So kasha on Beis Hillel. Not really kasha on Beis Hillel. It must be the Rabbi Yehuda, the Amoira, in this name of Rav, do not go and shittas Beis Hillel, which is fair because we said the Gemara in Eruvin Daf Yud Gimel says the halacha is like Beis Hillel. The halacha is like Beis Hillel. So Manel, if the halacha is like Beis Hillel, so why by tzitzis do we say by tzitzis we say that you need the shema and by sukkah not? It should shtim. It should be on the same page. Because why? Because I'll be with you in a second, Meya. And just hit the reaction that you take off that thing, okay? It says Gemara, Hasam de Amakra, Gedilim Kasel Lecha. There it says Gedilim, you should make Gedilim, Gedilim, branches hanging down, Lecha, L'Shem Chayvcha. So Memela, it's not a kasha. Reb Beis Hillel's Maida, by tzitzis you need Lishma. Why? Because there's a pasuk. Masha Ein came by sukkah where there is no pasuk. Because you used the lecha to teach me chol shel moed. Memela you don't need lishma. Fred the Gemara hachanami chag hasukas tasa lecha l'chol l'shem chayvcha, right? It says another pasuk, tasa l'cha, let's say it should be l'shem chayvcha. It should be for the purpose of what? Of your chayv. So just like the tzitzis has to be l'shma, so too the sukkah has to be l'shma, kashan beis hillel. Hahumi boile l'mutei gezula. That's to be mamayah the stolen sukkah. That if you sit in a stolen sukkah, you're not yaitza. Hasamnami mi boile l'mutei gezula. Afraid the Gemara. So by tzitzis as well, why do you say that tzitzis have to be l'shma? Gedilim tasa l'cha. Let's say it's to teach me that you're not yaitza with stolen tzitzis. So how do you know you need the shma? Hasam by tzitzis ksiv karachrina. V'yasul hem tzitzis. V'asul lahem mishel lahem. They can't be stolen. They have to be made from yours. Memela de l'cha is extra to teach me l'shma. Masha'en kein de l'cha by sukkahs is to teach me that you can't be yaitz in a stolen sukkah. Yes, Mayor. What's your question?
It was answered already.
Okay.
Mitzvah baba Torah.
Okay. Very famous question. Ari just popped in, right? It's a mitzvah ba'avera. So this is a with the ikas sugya we're going to do Bes Hashem when we get to Lulav Hagazel. But let's Taisus ask the kasha here, and he gives the teretz. Okay, let's see Taisus. Hahumi boile, the bottom Taisus. Humi boile lemute gezula. Tema. Why do you need a pasuk of lecha to teach me not yaitza with a stolen sukkah? Typically, mishum havei mitzvah ba'avera. Why don't you ascertain it's because you stole it and you've been yaitza with an avera? There may high time of paslin and esrog agazlas. We'll see later on. Skip down a few lines. V'yesh leimar. V'yesh leimar in the middle of the line. V'yesh leimar the taima the mitzvah haba ba'avera. The reason for mitzvah haba ba'avera lavda raisa elamid rabbanon. It would only passel me the rabbanon. It's very famous teretz of Tosfos. The dinos mitzvah haba ba'avera would only be the rabbanon. So if you come on to mitzvah haba ba'avera without the pasuk of lecha, you would be yaitza with a stolen sukkah. Therefore, I need a lecha deraisa to teach me not yaitza. Therefore, I need a lecha deraisa to teach me not yaitza. That's a very famous teretz. Okay, guys, there's one kasha here. Swilly Bonstein is a very good kasha, and Yehonas gave me, I think, a decent teretz. Listen to this kasha. I think it's a great kasha. The sefer called Shailas Shuvas Einig Yontif. He was the Rav in Bialystok. Rabbi Simcha, the Meshech Chochma, for 43 years, sat in a room there and learned without being stopped. He learned in that room in the Bialystok shul. And unfortunately, Rabbi Simcha had a daughter that was not the Seder. She once poured very hot coffee on him and burnt him very badly. And he said it's kapara for arguing with the Einig Yontif. That's what he said. So that's give the Einig Yontif. That he argued with the Einig Yontif. So the Einig Yontif asked the following question. We know a mitzvah is pata from a sukkah. A person, if it's raining, if it's dripping, it's raining, you're pata from a sukkah. You don't have to sit in a sukkah. So what happens if you do sit in the sukkah? Says the Ramah, you're a hedyet. You're a hedyet. It's not asa, but you're a hedyet. In other words, you're holier than thou. You're doing something that is not a mitzvah. When it says you're pata from a sukkah, there's no mitzvah to sit in the sukkah. If you're telling me that the pasuk of Chag HaSukkah Shivas Yomim LaHashem is that the sukkah is LaHashem, that it's Asa B'Hana, L'chayri is over in Issa D'Oraisa by sitting in the sukkah. Forget the star that is a hedyet. He's over in Issa D'Oraisa. He's being nenner from the sukkah. He's being nenner from the sukkah when he sits in the sukkah. It's Asa B'Hana. So why does the Ramah only call him a hedyet? Adarabba. Sitting in the sukkah, you're over in Avera. You're having enough from a sukkah and it's Asa. Like the Kasha? So the Einig Yontif is a teretz. We had the same kashif guys by the Big Day Kahuna. Remember, we said that the kohen, even though he's wearing shloi b'shas avoda, he's able to walk around with it, even the shas avoda, because the Torah was not given to Malachi Ashares. The Torah wasn't given to Malachi Ashares. So he wants to answer over here. The same thing. The Torah wasn't given to Malachi Ashares, so therefore you can't avoid this isahana. Memela what? It's okay. Yehonas wanted a title like this. I think it's a very interesting svara. When it says you can't have anah from the Atzei Sukkah, it means you can't have a direct hana from the Atzei Sukkah. So, for example, if we would use the Atzei Sukkah as a baseball bat, let's say you're a hard hitting. Let's say you can hit the curveball. You bat lefty, like our favorite Canadian, would bat left so he could hit the curveball. There he is, right? So if you would go ahead and you would use that bat from a sukkah, that would be asur b'hana. Over here, you're not using it. You're sitting in the sukkah. You know, it's similar to the idea we had before. What's the purpose of the schach? To be a covering, or for its sale, or for its pu'ula. So over here, l'chayra, if as long as I'm not having direct hana from the atzei sukkah, it wouldn't be asur b'hana. That's the way Yehonasan wanted to give it teretz. Shragi, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I like that. That applies to any. Does that apply to any hana? That's a very good teretz. Does that apply to any hana? Like Isra hana, you're allowed not actively having hana. So you're allowed to have a shade from an animal.
You have to check it out. You would have to check it out.
Like touch him. Are you allowed to sit under an animal to get away from the sun?
Right. L'chayra, you could.
Oh, that's a very good.
We said that re'iyah. There's no sign of re'iyah in Re'ach. We have a whole shiler over there. Hesh, you want to say something? You're pointing.
No, I was going to say kind of the same thing. If it's protecting me from the wind, that would be like having a baseball bat in my hand. It would be
absolutely not.
Why?
You tell me.
That would be direct hana.
No, it's not direct hana, because I'm not using it directly. I'm not touching it. Again, it's a byproduct hana.
Touch it.
It's
Okay.
a pu'ula. It's a pu'ula of hana. It's not mamish hana.
Okay.
In other words, basar b'chalav is asur b'hana, right? So if you sell it, you're mamish having enough from it. If you eat it, you're having enough from it. If you feed it for the dog, you're having enough from it, right? Let's say you're basar b'chalav, you sit in the shade of basar b'chalav. I mean, you're going to tell me that's asur b'hana? Okay. Anyway,
Guys, is it the same thing like someone using something muktzah, not to touch it, but just to sit under it for shade?
no, muktzah is only din tiltal.
I know.
Muktzah is only. It's not that you can't touch muktzah. You can touch muktzah. You can't. Muktzah is one more step. You can touch it. You're allowed to touch a car on Shabbos. You're allowed to lean against the car on Shabbos. You can't move it.
You can't move it.
You can't move it, right? Okay, next Mishnah. Now we have to use the books only because we bought them, okay? I mean, we have to use the books. I mean, you would be angry if I didn't use the books, right? Page 34. Page 34, picture, this picture. Nice picture. That's the first picture. Sukkah tachas ha'ilon. Next picture. Sukkah agabe sukkah. Okay, so you have two pictures. One tachas ilon, one sukkah tachas sukkah. Okay, says the Mishnah. This is also a packed daf. Someone makes a sukkah underneath an elon. It's like you made it in the house. The Gemara is going to medayek. It doesn't say puzzle. It doesn't say puzzle. It says like you made it in the house. Sukkah agabe sukkah. If you have one sukkah on top of another sukkah, the upper sukkah is kasha, and the bottom one is puzzle. And the Gemara will qualify all of this. Rabbi Yehuda says, if no one lives in the upper one, then the bottom one is kasha. Let's see Rashi. Kilu asam techabayis upsula. Kidetanya b'brayis of Gemara, as the Gemara will elaborate. Hatachtoina psula. The shnei schachim yeshla. It's got two schachs. The reason why the bottom one is puzzle, again, guys, remember a sukkah is called Hashem schach. So if you have two sukkahs, it has two schachos, and you only need one. Ukra puzzle sukkah tachas sukkah kittel. Come on, as we'll see from a puzzle. It means the urim b'gemara and farishla. Okay, what was the first din? Oh, it's a sukkah tachas the elon. You're making a sukkah underneath an elon. Now, take out your books. Look at picture 108 and 109. Here's one picture. Here's the other picture. This picture, the tree is not providing more sun than shade. This picture is providing more sun than shade. So Rabbi is going to make a chiluk between this and this. Okay, Rabbi is going to make a chiluk between this and this. Amar Rava, lo yishanu, that a sukkah Elon is a sukkah that's tachas Elon is pasul. Ela be'elon shetzilasa mimchamasai. The second picture, where you have more sail than what? Than sun. So you have what? You have two schachs. You have the schach of the tree, and you have the schach of the sukkah. Abel chamasai meruba mitzilasai. Now the tree sukkah is pasul schach, guys, because it's connected. One of the yisoidus we're going to see in Hilchas Sukkah is that the schach has to be disconnected. So this is pasul schach. Okay, so you have pasul schach, and the elon you have silsim rubi chamasai. Avol chamasai meiruba mitzilasai. When you have more sun than shade, the first picture, meaning sparsely, then sheira, then it would be kosher. Then it would be kosher.
You can't be touching the sukkah, right?
We'll see. Sheira will be kosher. Mimai, midiktani, kilu asabasech bias. Why would you say it's kosher? Because we're going to say like it's kilu. You put it besech bias. Lamali lemis the kilu asabasech bias. Guys, you just simply said ha'isa sukasei tachas elon. Pasul simply should have said it's pasul. But Rabbi did not say the lashon kitzara that the Mishnah is used to saying, the short, terse term. It used a more elaborate term, very, very meduyak. When is it pasul? Only when it's similar to ilu that you made it b'toich habayis. Listening psula, ela hakamash malon, the elon dumya the bias that elon similar to house. Ma bias silasa miru mechamasai, just like the house where you have more shade than sun. So clearly in a house you have more shade than sun. Af elon silasa miru mechamasai. So to the elon when you have more shade than sun. Okay, so right now you're going to tell me that this is kosher. You're going to tell me that this is kosher. Now I got a problem, right? I have a problem. You're mitzarif kosher schach with non-kosher schach. You have a problem. You're going ahead and you are mitzarif kosher schach with non-kosher schach. What does that mean? Let's see Rashi. Hakam mitzarif schach pasul, mechuba schach pasul. Forget about silsa miru mechamasa. You have schach that is mechuber. Tichsiv, when you gather, bigarncha from your goyrin, from your threshing floor, umiyekvecha from your wine press, mimasha tama'asef migarncha from what you gather from your wine press, asasukaska. That's what you should make your sukkah with. Now, obviously, if you're gathering it from your wine press, guys, it must be what? Disconnected. This is a very important cloud, guys. This is disconnected. The psoilus goyrin, kigoin koshin, upsoilus yekev, goin ashkoilois, clusters, rekonios, uzmurois, and shoots. Alma tolish beinan. We see that you need it to be disconnected. And this I underlined. Umehanit seila elon, litseil aschach, lahashlim silasa shel sukkah. And it helps the sale of the tree to the sale of the schach to be mashlim, the sale of the sukkah. When Rava said over here, guys, that the shear silusim rub michamasa, what does that mean? It means that the sukkah itself does not have enough to sale. The sukkah itself does not have enough to sale. He's very, very clear. If you look at this picture, it's a gewaldige picture. Look at the sukkah, guys. The sukkah itself does not have enough schach. You know what makes the sukkah, guys? You see the tree hanging over it? That's making it. In other words, you're getting more sun than shade, more shade than shun, as a result of the combination of the two. That's why the picture said, if you see this Rashi. Rashi holds crazy shita. The whole din of sukkah tachas elon is stated when you don't have a kosher sukkah by itself. If your sukkah was, we don't pass like this. If your sukkah was kosher by itself, meaning you had full-fledged sales without the tree, you're good, regardless of the tree. Says Rashi, the case is speaking You need the sukkah of the schach of the Elon to create the sukkah. So I have X amount of sale on my sukkah. I combine it with X amount of sale from the tree. That combination of the two now will be more than the sun. Frag the Gemara, you have schach posel, bahani chach kosher. You have, since it's mechuber, good, it's giving you sale, but it's mechuber. So how can Rav tell me that this is a good sukkah? Because there's more sun than shade. To create more sun than shade, you're using a mechuber dika sukkah, which is schach, which is no good. That's the way Rashi learns. That's the way Rashi learns, guys. Very important. I mean, it's really, it's a stam you read through the Gemara, you don't shtelzich on this. Right? Stam you read through the Gemara, you don't shtelzich on this. According to Rashi, it's mashma. The whole problem here is that you need the tree to create the sukkah. I need the sale of the tree, the schach, to create the sukkah. Mashma, if I don't need it, I had an independent sale by the sukkah itself. That's not the din of sukkah tachas ilan. Frag the Gemara now, very geschmack. If the tree has more sun than shade, how can you, Rabbi, say it's kosher? You're combining the schach of the pasel dika tree, that's mechuber, to the schach of the sukkah to create its sale. Got the kasha? And for the Gemara, Amrav Papa, b'shechavatan. It's speaking what? Where you went ahead and you tied it together and you're mevatel it. Says Rashi, b'shechavatan. Hishpala, you lowered it. You lowered the whole thing. You lowered the whole thing. Since you lowered the whole thing, hishpilu enough of lemata mu'uravim imschach kosher ve'ein nira be'ayin. You can't see the mechubet dikaschach and kosher. So the schach kosher, Rabba alav, the schach kosher now is roiv umevatla the midaraisa kol mili batal beruba kidatam mesnisan and hayasichach meruba men ksheva. So what's the chiddush, guys? It's not speaking where it is up over here. It's not speaking where it's up over here. It's speaking kishachavotan, when you went ahead and lowered it. So notice.
How does that help?
It's still attached to the tree.
How does that help?
Right?
How does that?
You're going to be mevatel it b'roiv. You're going to be mevatel using the din of kosher sale, since it's not recognizable. The schach, that's not kosher, it's going to be mevatel. Since you don't recognize the schach, that's kosher, it's going to be mevatel.
It needs a tied up tree.
You tie it down,
right.
You tie the tree schach into the kosher schach, and now the kosher schach will be mevatel. Says the Gemara, ibishachavoton mailam memra. If you're telling me you mevatel it, then what is the chiddush? What's the chiddush? So if we allow it to use it when you lower it and you tie it together, you may come to go ahead and use it when it's not tied together, and you're going to be mitzvah of schach kosher. Schach pasol, kamash malon deloy gazrinan. Kamash malon, you're not geyser. Now, guys, listen, this is a huge chiddush. Fed Gemara, the fact that you can lower it and be mevatel it, you think that's a chiddush? Hanami tanina. That's also, it's a mission later on in Daf Yud Aleph. Hidlo les a gefen. If you go ahead, here you go, guys. Hidlo lef is a gefen. If you have a tree and you're going ahead, and what are you doing? It's a vine, and you're picking up the vine and you're putting it on top of the sukkah. Notice, you're picking it up and you're putting it on top of the sukkah. So hidlo les a gefen. That's a delas, or a gourds. That's a kisnim, or ivy. The sikach al gabon, and you put schach on top, psula. Why? It's mechuber. Them hoya sikach harbe mehen, and if you have more schach than them, oishek etzotzon, or you cut them, then keshera, it'll be kosher. Right? Now, hechi dami, ileim b'shlei chavoton. If you're going to tell me that it's not mixed in with the other schach, it's not lowered to mix in with the other schach, how come it's started schach pasel and schach kosher? You have the same problem we had before. Elolav, it must be kishechavoton. It must be when you lower it down. Ushmami no the loy gazminon. Shmami no, you're not goizer. So Fred the Gemara, a great kasha on Rava. Rava, what's your chiddush? You're telling me if you have a tree that you lower it and you mix it together, that it's batal b'roiv. That's a mafurish mishnah. You're an amoira. I got a mishnah saying the same thing. If I take a geffen, I put it on, it's not good. However, if I mix it together with kosher schach, it is good. So why are you telling me, Rava? So, and for the Gemara, I'll tell you what I'm telling you. Hani mili b'di'evet. If I would have just had lashon of hidla, I would say if b'di'evet you do it. Hidla is a geffen, meaning if I went ahead and I did that, but you shouldn't do that. That's why I would have said b'di'evet. Aval lechatchila loy. I would say lechatchila, you're not able to do it. Kemashmal and Rava, guys. That lichatchila, I'm able to take the asa dikaschach. Guys, I'm able to take the asa dikaschach, put it on top of the sukkah, mix it together while it's still connected. Lichatchila. Says Rava, that tachasa ilan, I could go ahead and do that. Lichatchila, I could do that. That's the chiddush of Rava. Okay? Now, Benji always asks this question. It's a Gavalga Kasha. I found it in this sefer. I love the sefer, guys. Shur Mitzvah Ba'alacha. He has a great Kasha. Yeah. What? Excellent. Says Aryeh from Muncie that how can you go ahead and take this schach that's puzzle, guys, put it in and be mevatlet? You're not allowed. Let's see, for example, let's say you have, you need 60 to be mevatlet. You got 59. You're not allowed to throw in one more to put it over the top. That you can't do. So how can I take this asadik schach lichatchila, put it into the kosher schach and be mevatlet? That's the kasha. Now he quotes it's a taz in Tov Reish Chavav. I looked it up. Beautiful teretz. He says it's brought down by the Mordechai, was a Rishon, brought down the kasha. Guys, Shraga, you're leaving. Listen to this teretz. It's a great teretz. Listen to this teretz. Guys, when I have Isser, I have Chalev, it falls into kosher meat. Do I have Isser there? I have Isser there, right? I have the Isser is there already. I have to mevatel taruf of Isser, correct? It's very good. When am I making the sukkah, guys? When? On Yontif or Erev Yontif? Erev Yontif, right? Is it Asr Erev Yontif?
No.
Gavaldiga teretz, right? You're not being mevatel Isser. It wasn't Asr. It wasn't Asa. It wasn't when you were making the sukkah. It wasn't Asa. Only on sukkahs when the shem schach comes into place is it Asa. When you made it, it wasn't Asa. That's one teretz. It's Gavaldiga teretz. Next teretz is very geschmack. There's a din that there's a machloikis, but it seems that there's a sheet that holds ein mevalan isla chachil is only the rabbanon. Midaraisa you're able to do it. It's only midarabbanon you can't. It's a gezeira, you're going to fool around with things. So midarabbanon you can't. So if it's an asa d'rabbanon, right? If it's an issa d'rabbanon, right? So it's asa. The issa is what happens. So it's asa to go ahead and have anah. They said you can't have enough from this, but mitzvah lavlahen. He says his teretz is interesting teretz. His lashon. His lashon. Again. The tirtz the kaidin yom kippur shein asa. We gave the first teretz. But the aim of alis lachilu hu d'rabbanon. The Rabbanan said, guys, they only made the gezerah in a place where you have anah. So if I'm going to go ahead and put 59, put 60, and put it over the top, I'm going to have anah. I'm going to be able to eat that meat, right? I'm having have anah. If I go ahead and shot this, I'm a vatal, right? Whatever that mimim. If you again, probably it's not bottle there. But I'm saying any scenario where you have a dinner bittel. I got basa b'cholav. I put a little more chicken soup in. That's only derech hanah. If there wasn't there, but let's say that's when they made the gezerah. So l'chayra mitzvah lav lehenisnetnu. So if mitzvah lav lehenisnetnu, the whole halacha wouldn't apply over here. Sitting in the sukkah is a mitzvah. Mitzvah lav lehenisnetnu. The chachamar made the gezerah only b'makom what hana. So the male very very good. Why over here it's not a problem of
so let's say for matzah mitzvah, when you need it for the matzah mitzvah by the seder, you're allowed to mix. You're allowed to, let's say, even put vatal chametz into the matzah to eat it because it's mitzvah.
Chametz is vatal b'kol. It's not. It's also b'kol.
Right. Let's say 100 or whatever.
It's bottle. You're not bottle chametz.
So, Liz, why is there a problem with Asa Asa before Yontif? It's the mitzvah isn't there
Not a
yet.
sukkah, because you build the sukkah before Yontif.
Right, but so what? So the halacha.
Again, no, I'm saying Tasal Limini Asi means that you didn't build the sukkah correctly. You didn't build the sukkah correctly. Tasal Limini Asi. So l'chayr, what did you do? You before Yontif, you did make schach. Over here, you made schach. Here, you made schach, Benji. The schach is bottle. There is schach there. Tasal Limini Asi is I didn't make schach. No, it's not called schach. When you go ahead, when Yontif comes, do you have kosher schach up there?
Yeah.
Tasal Limini Asi, you don't have kosher schach up there. That's the difference between the two. Okay, guys, 4:30 Bez Hashem.
But also, Rabbi, you can also